Today's thought of the day is basically, I'm sure each one of us would be able to relate to because we have, difficult people in our life that we need to handle and that too very gracefully. So just let me describe someone you know. You know, this person has an opinion about everything you do. And you'll agree, there are such people in everyone's life. And it's usually critical. They turn small conversations into arguments. They make you feel like you're walking on eggshells. And after spending time with them, you're exhausted, defensive, or I would say strangely guilty about things you didn't even do wrong. So maybe it's your mother in law, or maybe it's your colleague, or maybe it's a relative who shows up at every family function with unsolicited commentary about your life choices. हिंदुस्तान में हम कहते हैं ना, हर परिवार में एक फूफा होता है. So we all have them. The question isn't whether difficult people exist. They do, and we are aware of it. But the question is, how do we handle them without losing our peace, our dignity, or our minds? So today we're talking about how to handle people, in fact, difficult people, gracefully. And here's the truth we often forget. You don't calm storms by shouting at the sky, you ground yourself. So when someone is being difficult, your instinct is to fight back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But that's like yelling at a storm and expecting it to quiet down. And it won't. The storm doesn't care about your logic. But what you can control, your own grounding, your own calm, your own response. So grace isn't about being weak. It's about being so rooted in yourself that someone else's chaos can't shake you. So before we talk about how to handle them, let's understand why people are difficult in the first place. And here's the truth that will change everything. Difficult people reflect unresolved pain. That is why in graphology we say when somebody says something, try to understand where he's coming from. Why is he saying that? That critical mother in law, she's like repeating patterns from her own difficult mother in law. She learned that criticism is how you care. That passive aggressive colleague probably feels powerless in their own life, so they exert control through subtle sabotage. Or that uncle who makes inappropriate comments at gatherings. He likely never learned healthy boundaries or emotional regulation. So, understanding this doesn't mean you excuse their behavior, but it helps you stop taking it personally. See, their difficulty isn't about you, it's about their own wounds. And you don't have to absorb their pain just because they are projecting it onto you. And here's what most of us do when dealing with difficult people, we absorb their emotions. Your mom in law makes a snide remark about your weight. So instead of letting it pass, you internalize it. You spend the evening replaying it, getting angrier, feeling smaller. Your boss speaks to you rudely in a meeting. You take it home. You vent to your partner, you lose sleep. You're now given that person power over your entire evening, maybe your entire week. A family member criticizes your parenting. You get defensive, you argue, you try to justify yourself. And now you're upset, they are upset, and nothing's resolved. So when you absorb their emotions, you give them your peace. And here's the thing, They're not lying awake at night thinking about you, but you are lying awake thinking about them. So, who really lost in that exchange? So, what does it mean to handle difficult people gracefully? Let me give you real, practical strategies. Strategy number one: respond calmly, not defensively. And for women dealing with in laws, your mom in law says, you're spoiling the children by giving them too much screen time. A defensive response would be, you have no idea how hard it is to parent these days. Things are different now. The graceful response will be, I understand your concern. I'm doing my best with what works for our family. See the difference? You didn't argue. You didn't justify. You just acknowledged and moved on. So you're not giving the comment power. And for women at work, your colleague publicly questions your idea in a meeting. So if you're defensive, you would say, actually, if you had read my email properly, you would know I already addressed that. You are defensive basically. And graceful? Oh, that's a fair question. Let me clarify. And you went on. So you stay calm. You don't match their energy. You stay grounded. Strategy number two: use the power of neutral responses. See, difficult people want a reaction. Don't give it to them. So practice these phrases whenever they come up with such a comment. I understand. Let me think about that. I see it differently. I respect your view. That's an interesting perspective. These responses are magic. They're not agreement. They're not surrender. They're boundaries wrapped in politeness. So, for men dealing with controlling parents, let's say your father criticizes your career choice for the hundredth time. So instead of arguing or explaining again, try, I hear you, Dad. I've made my decision and I'm at peace with it. Calm, firm, final, no debate. Strategy number three: practice detachment. See, detachment doesn't mean you don't care, it means you don't carry. Someone makes a rude comment. You hear it, you note it, you don't internalize it. So think of yourself as a duck. Water rolls off, their negativity doesn't penetrate. Your sister in law makes a passive aggressive remark about your weight during a family dinner. The old you would say, feels hurt all evening, eat less, feel self conscious, maybe cries later. But the grounded you thinks that says more about her insecurity than my body and continues enjoying your meal. So you heard it, but you didn't absorb it. So, when to walk away from such conversations? So, here's something important: grace doesn't mean tolerance of abuse. There's a difference between handling someone's occasional difficulty and enduring someone's consistent toxicity. If someone is verbally abusive, manipulative, or gaslighting you, violating your boundaries repeatedly despite you clearly stating them, or causing genuine harm to your mental health, then grace means walking away. You can be graceful in your exit. I care about this relationship, but I can't continue like this. I need peace. I need space. You don't owe anyone access to you at the cost of your well being. Sometimes the most graceful thing you can do is to leave the room or leave the relationship. So let me give you a reframe that will help you in the moment. When someone is being difficult, say to yourself, this is their storm. I don't have to stand in the rain. Let me repeat. This is their storm. I don't have to stand the rain. So your colleague is in a terrible mood and snapping at everyone. That's their storm. You can acknowledge it without getting drenched by it. Your mom in law is upset because you are not following her traditions. That's her storm. You can be respectful without abandoning yourself to calm her. Your teenager is having an emotional meltdown, and that's their storm. You can support them without letting their chaos destabilize you. So their feelings are valid, but you don't have to fix them. You can hold space for someone's difficulty without making it yours. So here is what I want you to practice this week: the neutral response practice. Think of one difficult person in your life. And now think of a typical difficult statement they make and write down three neutral responses you can use. Let me share an example. Let's say, I understand how you feel. Or let me think about that and get back to you. Or even, I don't see it that way, but I respect that you do. So practice saying these out loud. Yes, actually speak them. Practice the calm tone. Practice not defending, not explaining, not arguing. And then use one this week. The next time this person says something difficult, instead of your usual reaction, defensiveness, anger, hurt, try one of your prepared neutral responses. Notice what happens. Notice how it feels to stay grounded. Notice how much less power they have when you don't engage. And here is something that might surprise you. The most difficult people are often your greatest teachers. Yes, they teach you patience, they teach you boundaries, they teach you that peace is more valuable than being right. They show you who you become under pressure and give you the opportunity to choose grace over reactivity. You don't have to like them. You don't have to keep them close, but you can thank them for the growth they have forced you into. And I leave you with this thought today. You cannot control the behavior of others, but you can always control your response. Yes, your response, not reaction. You must not react. Always come up with responses, and your response determines your peace. Stop trying to change difficult people. Stop waiting for apologies that may never come. Stop giving them power over your emotional state. And instead, ground yourself. Respond with calm. Protect your peace like the precious resource it is. Be the person who doesn't need to win the argument. Be the person who doesn't absorb everyone's chaos. And be the person who can remain graceful in the face of difficulty. Not because you are weak, but because you are rooted. Let them be the storm, but you be the mountain. So, with that thought, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.